Hi guys, welcome to handling missing values in spreadsheets using Python. And if you've ever worked with data before, missing values are literally the bane of a data analyst. No matter what kind of data work you're doing, you always have to deal with them before you can proceed. So in this tutorial, we'll go through a couple of the common ways on how to handle missing values, whether by removing them or replacing them from a spreadsheet using Python. Okay, so let's get started. First, we're going to download the file that we're going to be using, and the link is in the description below. The file is called applestock.xlsx, and it has 4 columns, as you can see. There are date, ticker, open, and close last. Let's go through the columns before we do anything else. So the date column is what the date of the stock price is that we got these records from, and there are 2 values missing in here. And for this example, let's just say that we have no way of knowing where these dates are. So for the dates, we're going to actually remove these rows that have empty dates. The ticker has 3 empty values, and since we know that this file contains only Apple stock data, we can confidently fill these with the same ticker, AAPL. The open has 3 values, and let's say for this example, the analysis we're doing, we're okay with using similar values. So in this case, we're okay with using the open value of the day prior. So in this missing value, we are totally fine in our project to use 210.88, and in these two, we're totally fine using 208.05. For the close last, we're going to fill them, but from the day after. So in this missing value, we're okay with using 216.7, and in 13, we're okay with using 204.16. And in large sets of time series number values such as this, it's actually okay to do this, especially if you're making training a machine learning algorithm to trade on stocks. As long as nothing crazy has happened that day, which is rare, it's okay to use similar values to fill them. And I'll leave a link in the description for more advanced techniques on how to fill missing values for numerical operations. But so far, this should be okay for general analysis. And so there are no holes in our data, and it still lets us carry on. Okay, so that's our data file. Now let's get back to the code. First, we're going to create a file. Let's save it in the same, let's fill in the same folder as we have our file, and we're going to call this missingvalues.py. Okay, let's go through everything line by line. So first, we're going to use our pandas library, import pandas as PD. And we use this because this has very convenient methods for us to fill or remove missing values. So we're going to start off by reading the file. And if you're unsure on how to read a file or what pandas is or how to run a Python script, I'll leave the link for our first tutorial in the description, our intro to reading and writing spreadsheets with Python. And that way you can read that to see what I'm doing. The command is one line. We call read Excel from PD, and we give it the file name. Okay, so now let's start from the ticker, and you'll see why I'm starting with the ticker when we get to the end. So first we're going to fill in the ticker missing values with AAPL, and this is done in 2 steps. So the left side of this code right here, we're going to take our data frame. We're going to say that in this data frame, we want to replace the ticker column with the values in the current ticker column, and fill any empty values, fill NA, with the AAPL symbol. This is our bread and butter method to replace missing values in Python and Pandas, fill NA. And in this case, we're using it to give a specific value that we're filling in those blank values. In this case, AAPL in the ticker column. And we're going to assign this back to the column in the data frame. Okay, so now let's do the open column. The open column, we're going to backfill open column. So now remember when we saw the open column and we said that we want to fill this with the value of the day prior. And in backfill terms, that means the rows below. So what backfill does is fills any empty values with the last known value. So in this case, it's 208.05. So this will fill 208.05 on these two. This will fill 210.88 in this one. For close last, we're going to use front fill, which will fill 216.7 here and 204.16 here. So let's see how to do that in code. Again, our syntax to assign the values will be the same. So Apple stock open. And we're going to use open fill na. And this time we're going to use a parameter called method. And in this, we'll give it a value bfill. And bfill will do what we want it to do, is take the last known value and fill the missing values with it. Now we're going to do front fill, close last column. And this will again be the same exact syntax as this. Close open, this is our column name. Oh, sorry, close last. And we're going to take close last and front fill this. And the front fill value is ffill. Okay, so in this code now what we have done is we have read the files, stored it in the data frame, and in those ticker, open, close last column, we've taken those columns and we've filled their missing values, whether that's by specifying exactly the value we want to fill, specifying which method we want to fill, whether that's backfill or front fill. And now we have a data frame where the only missing values left are in the date column. And remember, in the date column, we wanted to remove the date. Remove these rows that don't have a date. To do that, we're removing the rows where date is empty. And this will assign a new data frame. So remove empty date rows, let's call this. And we're going to take our current data frame and call this method drop NA. So drop NA drops any rows that have a missing value. And so it's very important to call this when we have filled in all the missing values we want to fill. If we had called it in the front of the code, then what would happen is that all of these rows, 3, 4, 6, 8, 9, 11, 13, they all would be removed from the data frame. Only after we have filled in the rows we want to fill, such as ticker, open, close, now we can call that drop NA. That will remove these rows where there's an NA. Because look, we're not specifying the date column here at all. This is just on the entire data frame, remove any rows that have a missing value. And now our remove empty date rows data frame does not contain any missing values. And we can check that out by writing this data frame to an Excel file. And if you're unsure of how to do this, check out our first tutorial that I'll link in the description. And we do to Excel, specify the file name. I'm going to call it cleaned apple stock XLSX. And I'm also going to give it a parameter index false. What this does is it suppresses the row numbers from being displayed because Excel already has the row numbers. So there's no reason for us to write out the row numbers. Okay, cool. So now let's run this file. Python missing values.py. Okay, nothing happened. That's a good sign. That means everything went as planned. And we have cleaned apple stock.xlsx. So let's open our two files and see the difference. And here we go. So as you can see, all the ticker symbols are filled in, AAPL. We wanted the 821 to be filled in by the one prior. It is 210.88. We wanted these, the 93, to be filled in by the one prior, 2805. This should have been filled in by this, front fill, and it is front filled. And then this by 204.16 front fill, which is true, 204.16 front fill. And the two rows where the date was missing, are totally gone. We go from 27 to 29 and 21 to 23. Okay, awesome. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys take this and can deal with missing values now like a pro. There are a couple more advanced ways to do it, and I'll link those also in the description. Let me know if you want to see a more advanced tutorial on maybe how to average values from localized values and interpolate using other methods. Until then, hope you keep loving spreadsheets. Bye bye.